Well, Eddie, yesterday over WhatsApp, we was going through some old photos of Austin Ammo Williams. 6 years ago, he made his pro debut. That seems to have flown by, and here we are today. It's his first headline fight for Matchroom. Just how much has he developed as a fighter and as a man in that period?
Yeah, I think the Ammo story has been an incredible roller coaster. You know, I mean, signed him as a very young man, kind of like a relatively inexperienced amateur, but with national representation and also with great power. You know, someone that was stopping amateurs and people were talking about him. And, you know, we boxed him all over the world. He was knocking people out, great character. And then he started to lose his way a little bit, you know, and I think that's been well documented mentally, emotionally. And I'm so proud that he's actually even still here in the game, because there were times when I thought we may never see him again, let alone see him in a boxing ring again. And he showed incredible strength to come back from the deepest, darkest of places. And I think with Ammo, sometimes his camps haven't quite given him the kind of representation in the ring that they could have. You know, I look particularly at the Hamza Shiraz fight. You know, he had probably a 3 or 4 week camp for that fight. Time he got everything sorted, and no excuses. Hamza was the better fighter on the night, but there's another level to Ammo Williams. This fight actually is a very tough fight. Volny's a serious guy. He's a huge middleweight, but this is the kind of fight that's going to show us if he's ready for those world elite level fights. And Ammo's a great athlete. He's a great person. It's a great story, but he's still got to do the business on Saturday night in a very tough fight.
You mentioned about the Shiraz fight there. When we spoke to him yesterday, I think he seems even in a different headspace to when he was, when was that, just late last year? In terms of the headspace and where he's at right now, have you spoke to him the last couple of weeks leading into this?
Yeah, I think he's in a great place. You know, he's got a baby, you know, on the way. He's settled down. But it's like the story doesn't really matter without the victory, you know? Stories are great. You know, and the Ammo story puts a lump in your throat. You know, it can well you up. But the reality is, if you get beat, story means nothing. But if you win and you got the Ammo story, then you can really go to a next level. He's a character. He's an exciting fighter. He's a great athlete. And he has a great story. And he's willing to share that story. And I think that's important as well. You know, he's not... I think sometimes it's always kind of like this bravado amongst fighters where it's like, you know, we all have our dark times, but, you know, I'm a fighter and it doesn't affect me. You know, it did affect Emma. And I think that message and that journey is important to share as well.
Speaking of the journey, he spoke yesterday about a vision you guys had when you first sat down for the first time. Is that ultimately a world title at the end of that?
Yeah, every fighter that I sign, if you don't win a world championship, you haven't got to the level that I hoped and we dreamt of. You know, every fighter that we sign, particularly from professional debut, that's the goal. It's not to win a WBA international title. It's not to win a Commonwealth title. We want to go on a journey with you to become world champion. And Ammo has got to come through this test on Saturday. And it is, for me, by far his toughest test outside of Hamza Shiraz. This is a real fight. So, yeah, of course, it's very special when you take a fighter from their professional debut to a world championship. And Ammo can do it if he stays focused. And I love what I see this week. But as always, the proof will be in the pudding.
If he does come through a very dangerous Patrice Volny, how far off do you think he could be from a world title shot?
I think he's there. You know, I think if Ammo wins on Saturday, why not land a shot at the world title? You know, you got Carlos Adames. We just saw him fight Hamza Shiraz. You know, you got maybe the WBO title could even become vacant. You got Edgar Lara. You know, they're all tough. Every world championship should be tough. But, you know, I just want to see Ammo switched on and fight to his full potential. And I'm hoping we get that performance on Saturday.
Let's just have a look further down the card. The debut of Amari Jones. Just how special is this young man?
Yeah, this is a big moment, actually. This is a big moment, of course, most importantly for Amari Jones. This is a big moment for Matchroom, for DAZN. It's a big moment for American boxing. You know, when I look at the young superstars coming out, turning professional, this kid has it all. I mean, he has a wonderful temperament. He has a great soul. He has an incredible work ethic. He looks $1 million. He's a fantastic ambassador for the sport and for his community here in Orlando and for young people in America. He's a standout amateur, Olympic medalist. He's an incredible fighter. I mean, he really does. You know, he's got massive support here in Orlando on Saturday. And this is the start of the journey of a very, very exciting fighter. I watched this man in Paris straight away. I thought, I think this kid is a world champion in the weight-in. We have to sign this young man. You know, slid straight into his DMs, met the parents and him the next day in Paris, met them in Las Vegas. He really took his time. He met everybody and he chose us. And I take that, you know, I don't take that responsibility lightly. We have a chance to guide America's next big boxing superstar. And this kid has the temperament and the look and the whole package, not just to be a boxing superstar, but a sporting superstar in this country. You've got to win and you've got to look good and you've got to have the ability. But I believe he has all that and more. I think he's the ultimate package and he's got a tough debut.
He's been very aggressive.
Very, very tough debut. But that's where I think you're going to see the best of guys with that kind of pedigree against better opposition, people that are coming to win. But a very tough fight on Saturday for the debut in a tough surrounding. You know, at home, in your home city, like a huge crowd. But, you know, I love what I see from Amari and I'm really looking forward to the journey.
How active do you envisage over the next 12 months?
Like all our young fighters, very active. You know, 6 fights minimum a year, could be 7 or 8. But again, when you're fighting at the level of Amari so early on, sometimes you're not quite as active because if you're just going in steamrolling overmatched fighters, you can go next week. But, you know, sooner or later you can have a tough 6 rounds and, you know, this has been a long camp for him. But like I said, I think he looks $1 million and he's ready to fly on Saturday.
Edgar Berlanga. He's obviously been quite vocal across social media. You've had a few things to say. Have you caught up with him so far?
I haven't yet. I mean, we're going to do the press conference shortly. So, look, I think with Edgar, you know, I'm always willing to be honest and open about the situation. We've done the most amazing job for Edgar Berlanga. You know, we've had 3 fights with him. He's headlined Madison Square Garden. He's headlined here at the Caribe Royale, and he headlined in Las Vegas against Canelo Alvarez. You know, he's made over $12 million, and his life has changed. And, you know, we don't necessarily want a pat on the back for that. It's our job, but we've changed his life and he deserves it. He's the fighter. But when he fought Canelo Alvarez, his management requested that there be a comeback on the undercard should he lose. And that's what we're doing. You know, we talked about a main event fight in Puerto Rico. It couldn't materialize. So we just followed the contract, and that's what we've done. That's what we always do. You know, love Edgar. I think he's a great fighter. I think he can be a big star. And if this is his last fight with us, I will look back and say, wow, what a job we did for Edgar Berlanga. And if it's not the end, and I hope it's not, I hope we can carry on the relationship, then we'll always work as hard as we can. We'll deliver every time like we do, and we'll follow our contracts like we always do. So, yeah, I think that, you know, we'll hug it out later and see where it goes. He actually has a good fight on Saturday. You know, I think sometimes people look at the record and they don't quite know the story. You know, the opponent was in prison for a long time, was actually a very good fighter coming before that. He's come back with a couple of fights. He's from Puerto Rico. He's super tough. And these are the kind of fights that if you're not switched on, you know, all of a sudden, should he be main event? Is he main event? Maybe he's got the hump a little bit. You know, you've got to be focused right now because this kid's coming to change his life. For Edgar, it's about a solid performance, statement win, and moving on to the big fights in the summer.
A really interesting rematch opening up the live broadcast in Jalil Hackett and Jose Roman. I kind of forget that Jalil's only 21 still. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him in the first fight, but even more so now.
I mean, this is a sneaky good card on Saturday. You know, we appreciate it's not, you know, Boots against Stanionis or a Riyadh season card, but it's a really great night of fights. And Hackett against Roman is a brilliant fight to kick off the broadcast. And if you don't know the story, we signed Jalil Hackett. You know, he wasn't a kid that was blessed with Olympic medals, but he was a kid that was blessed with a lot of talent and a want to fast track his career. Now, part of that was jumping in against Dobson on a boots card and then going to Puerto Rico and fighting Roman in his backyard. For me, he did the weight poorly, he didn't perform on the night, and he lost a very close decision. Disaster. You're 21-0, you're a world-ranked fighter, you're undefeated, people are talking about you, and you got beat. So from there, we talk to the team, we say, look, you've got two options really. You can go and have a little comeback fight, 6 or 8 rounds, or if you want, I'll make the rematch. I'll pay up for it and we'll do it in America. And they said, well, we want the rematch. I love it. But you lose the rematch, you're deeper in the shit. So, and then you've got Roman, whose confidence has gone to another level. You see him getting his belt yesterday, breaking down in tears. Like, this is a brilliant 50-50 fight to open a broadcast. And I have big respect for Hackett and the team. And if he's prepared properly, if he's done the weight right, I think he wins on Saturday.
Richardson Hitchins is in town on commentary duty at the weekend. No doubt he'll have one eye on George Kambosos next week. Is that the plans for the summer?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a huge show in Sydney next Saturday, March 22nd. And really, I mean, a real, excuse my French, a shit or bust fight for George Kambosos. I mean, the deviations of where next Saturday could take George Kambosos are so wide. You know, victory against a very, very tough Yordan. And he's probably, or most likely, going to land a shot against Richardson Hitchins to become a 2-division world champion. That's the fight we want. Flip it the other way, Yordan gets the win. Kambosos is done. His career's over. And, you know, for me, I love Hitchins against Kambosos. You know, Kambosos has got all the fire. He's got a lot to say. Those two have been going at it non-stop for over a year. And it's a really good fight for New York. Really good fight. Great build-up. You've got a guy who won all the belts, probably Australia's greatest ever victory, on the road, beating Teofimo Lopez at Madison Square Garden, coming back to try and become a 2-division champion against who I believe is one of the real dark horses of the division and of boxing, and that's Richardson Hitchins. I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think he can beat a lot of these big name fighters as well. So Kambosos has to beat Yordan on a massive night in Sydney, big world championship night. Sky Nicholson against Tiara Brown. It's going to be a tremendous fight. He's the best fight in the featherweight division. Shanika Johnson rematching Nina Hughes, their controversial fight previously. Tara Moana on the card. Don't forget Katiev as well, top 10 Ring Magazine light heavyweight beast. And a brilliant night next week at the Kudos Arena in Sydney. And just a huge moment for George Kambosos.
The guys on the ground next week will do a full fight preview with you. But just elsewhere in the boxing world, Chris Eubank Jr., 100 grand fine from the British Boxing Board of Control. Is that fair?
I thought it was expensive, to be honest with you. You know, that was a joke. I don't know if anyone picked it up, but it does sound expensive. I think we have to, I think the world's gone a little bit mad. You know, you watch this sort of stuff, you watch Misfits, like, I get it. You know, viral clips work. They do numbers. They create hype. They drive interest. They sell pay-per-views. They sell tickets. But maybe, and listen, I'm the worst of all of them. All of those things. That's my bread and butter. But maybe I'm just a little bit older where it's like, I don't want people to think that's okay. Like, what we're trying to teach in the community and through grassroots boxing is the things that boxing can instill in you, which is discipline, respect, manners, understanding the rules. And he broke the rules. He crossed the line. And, I get it. In the heat of the moment, sometimes things can happen. They're two warriors colliding, and our job is to get them in close. But that was premeditated. That had nothing to do with a little bit of anger. That was him saying, I'm going to, bring these and I'm going to whack him around the face. And so, it'll always hurt. No one likes a little 100 grand fine. But, it did sell the fight in incredible fashion.
Also announced yesterday, Naoya Inoue is defending his world titles, not against Dalman, but against Ramon Cardenas. Do you think we will see the MJ fight later this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to go too hard on Inoue because we're trying to negotiate the Akhmadaliev fight. Of course, The WBA belt will not be on the line. That fight will not be undisputed unless we do a deal. And we don't want to step aside to allow that fight. We'll step aside to fight Inoue. So hopefully, we have a great relationship with the team out there and Mr. Honda and everybody, and we're pretty close to getting a decent resolution for MJ that will ultimately see him fight for the Undisputed Championship against Inoue later in the year.
That's great. Yeah, it's a fight we've wanted for a long time. Fight fans have wanted, so that's really positive news. Maybe not so positive. Unfortunately, yesterday, news of Mauricio Lara surfaced. Just your thoughts and...
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think like a lot of people, we never received any correspondence from the British Boxing Board of Control or UCAD regarding a failed test or any procedure or hearing that was going on with UCAD. So, we haven't represented Lara for some time now, but, sometimes these things just take so long. And what was it, 2 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah, there must be a better way. But yeah, it was a surprise to all of us to see that ban. And obviously, the aim of the game is to make sure that the sport is as clean as possible. And I think there is so much additional testing happening now, particularly through Riyadh season events as well, every fight and every one of our big fights as well. So just got to keep on cranking it up.
Yesterday was the 1 month to go countdown for Boots and Stanionis. I mean, what a great fight this is in Atlantic City for 3 belts.
Yeah, I think that Boots Stanionis is the fight of the year, certainly so far. Exactly what you want to see. The best be the best. Welterweight supremacy, 2 champions collide. And for Boots, we've talked about how special he is. This is the fight where he can show it, and I believe he will, in a historic night at a historic venue. And delighted to be bringing big-time boxing back to the Boardwalk Hall.
Just finally, in the last 24 hours, the heavyweight division seems to have had a few pieces moving, shall we say. Alex Krasiuk said negotiations are underway for Usyk Dubois 2, but since then the WBO have ordered Joseph Parker to fight Usyk. What can you tell us from what you know? And also, where does it...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, sometimes there's a little bit of hype. There's a little bit of strategy. I think Usyk Dubois is a great fight. I really would like to see Joseph Parker get his shot at the world title, whether that's through Daniel Dubois or whether that's a fight with Alexander Usyk, which I understand has since been ordered very quickly after the news of the other negotiations. So I don't know. Our focus is Anthony Joshua, who, he's just getting over a minor injury to prepare to start camp again. So, we're just focused on what he's going to do, to be honest with you, at that level. Justice Huni now, he's WBO #1. Terra Moana's making his way up. Alexis Barrier, we're trying to build our own heavyweight dream team. And, it's a huge division with some great fights to be made.